Hello, and welcome to Adapter Parish, episode 42, Freaky Friday. Before we get started, as always, let's talk about our next episode. Actually, this is going to be a little different because I need to tell you about our next 2 episodes. There's a particular property that's been on our list for a while now, but we suspected that it might be a little too big for one episode, and that's Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre. So we did it, and we were right. So, on May 21st and June 4th, you can hear parts 1 and 2 of our look at this classic and its many adaptations. And here they are if you'd like to watch along. For episode 1, we of course read the book. We watched the 1943 movie starring Joan Fontaine and Orson Welles, the 1970 TV movie starring Susanna York and George C. Scott, the 1973 miniseries starring Saoirse Cusack and Michael Jaston, and the 1983 miniseries starring Zella Clark and Timothy Dalton. Then, for episode 2, we watched the 1996 movie starring Charlotte Gainsbourg and William Hurt, the 1997 TV movie starring Samantha Morton and Kieran Hines, the 2006 miniseries starring Ruth Wilson and Toby Stephens, and finally, the 2011 movie starring Mia Wasikowska and Michael Fassbender. This definitely took a while, and that starts on Tuesday, May 21st. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections that you'd like to hear on the show, remember to email adapterparishcast@gmail.com or tweet at us using the AdaptCast hashtag. You can find all of the show notes from this and other episodes at adaptorparishcast.com. And with that, on with the show. Freaky Friday by Mary Rodgers. Hello and welcome to Adapter Parish, a podcast about adaptation. I'm Jeremy Latour.
And I'm Arielle Lifshaw.
And I wanted to do a joke at the beginning where we introduced ourselves as each other, and you were like, no one will understand your joke.
I thought no one would understand your joke.
It's the Freaky Friday episode. Of course everyone would get it.
If you would have understood that joke without us having to explain, because you were already familiar with the central conceit of Freaky Friday, feel free to tweet and let us know.
It was going to be great. It was going to be a great joke. I don't understand you. You don't get me. You don't get me at all.
Okay.
You don't know what it's like to be me.
No, I don't.
Hey, what's up? We're talking about Freaky Friday today.
Hi. Freaky Friday is a children's book. And we are doing this in honor of Mother's Day.
Yeah, happy Mother's Day.
Our second sort of seasonal holiday episode in a row, following hot on the heels, I believe, if memory serves, since obviously we're recording this ahead of time. I believe it was the 10 Commandments last week.
I'm pretty sure that's our schedule.
Yeah. So the tone and structure of this is a little different, a little less epic, if you will.
I'm pretty sure that in this episode about Freaky Friday, neither of us are going to get as salty about like bar and bat mitzvahs as we did last episode.
No, or like slaves.
Yeah, slavery doesn't really come up.
It doesn't even come up.
Racial insensitivity comes up.
Oh, like big time.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Oh my gosh.
We're definitely going to talk about that.
For sure.
I was actually thinking about this before we sat down because I forgot whose idea was it to do this one?
Yours.
Yeah, because because you'd read it.
Yeah.
But does it mean anything? Like, was it something you really liked when you were a kid?
No, like it was definitely the kind of thing where I was like, yeah, I think I know what that is. And then as I was reading the book, I was like, oh yeah, 100% I've read this book. But it was not something that I loved, I suppose, as a kid.
Yeah.
It didn't speak to me.
I only know Freaky Friday because of like what it is in the culture.
Yeah.
Just body swap stuff. So I found a Wikipedia page that's fantastic.
Okay.
It's called Body Swap Appearances in Media.
Oh, God.
It is amazing. There are so many. I'm just looking at films right here. 18 Again, A Saintly Switch, Allison's Birthday, All of Me, The Change Up, Dating the Enemy. There's so many freaky.
So is that just
so many Freaky Fridays?
Is that just like where the central conceit of like the entire work is body swap? Because like there's an episode of Buffy with a body swap.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a very important episode.
So a couple things I found out about Freaky Friday.
Yes.
I didn't know that it itself is based on something else.
Ah.
Did you know that?
I do now.
Okay, so it's based I couldn't find anything concrete. Like, I have nothing about Mary Rodgers, the author, saying, yes, this is true. But the internet said it was true, so I'm assuming it's true.
Yes, because the internet, famed source of truth.
Right. There's a book called Vice Versa, A Lesson to Fathers, which was written by Thomas Ainsley Guthrie in 1882.
Okay.
Where, so the basic premise of the book is there's this dad, and he's going to send his son off to boarding school, and they get in a really big fight. And there's there's like a statue or something like that has magical powers. Basically, the father turns himself into like his son. And now there's two of them. And the son gets it and says, well, now I'm going to turn myself into you. So I'm going to go to work while you go to boarding school.
Okay.
And that has been like remade several times. And Freaky Friday, the book, is considered an adaptation of that.
I feel comfortable not having read that and considering Freaky Friday the source material for these films that we watched.
I also feel comfortable with that.
I also don't want to read that book from 1886.
No, well, 1882.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, yes, excuse you. But I feel like it's funny, too, because on the opposite end, so we're not going to talk about that book.
Yeah.
But we're also not going to talk about the musical.
Well, we only found out about this like today.
I knew that there was like a new Disney Channel version that came out last year. And we watched the trailer for it. And the trailer has like no singing in it or anything. But there's definitely like really quick shots of people dancing. And I said to you, it looks like this is a musical. And I found out that I was right. So there was a musical that came out 2 years ago, and then it was made into a movie on the Disney Channel. This musical has, like, it's a touring show, and I guess it's open for, like, community theaters and regional companies and everything.
Available for licensing.
But it has never gone to Broadway.
Oh.
And I listened to some of it today.
Shocker.
I didn't listen to the whole thing, so I can't say whether the whole thing is good or not. I listened to the first, like, 4 or 5 songs. It didn't really do much for me.
Gotcha.
So we didn't watch that either.
Yeah, we sort of ran out of time. Yeah.
Quick sidebar about Mary Rodgers. Okay, full disclosure, I got super into this one. Like, I kind of loved the book.
Jeremy loved this. He said to me, I took more notes on this than I have taken on anything we've done so far.
I have so many notes.
I find that so hard to believe.
I have so many, though. Why?
Well, I don't know. Like, I mean, like this, there's not that much to it. I mean, apart from anything else, we've read things much longer. This book is only 174 pages.
And then 3 different movies.
Not
all of which were good.
No, not all.
There's a lot to talk about in this one.
Yeah.
So we read the book and we watched these movies. We didn't watch the new musical. We have not seen that. Quick sidebar about Mary Rodgers.
Okay.
Who I had... Again, I knew nothing about her before going into this.
Yeah.
Do you know who her family is?
Well, Rodgers.
Yeah.
There is a famous Rodgers of Rodgers and Hammerstein.
This is true. That's her dad.
Okay.
So her dad is Richard Rodgers.
Okay.
Did you know that she got her start in musical theater? Like, as a composer?
Well, yes. Now that I know it's the same Mary Rodgers, yes, I did know that.
She wrote Once Upon a Mattress.
Yes. Now that you say that, I did know that.
And her son...
Well, if her dad is Richard Rodgers, then her son would be Adam Gettle.
Yeah.
Who wrote The Light in the Piazza.
Mm-hmm. Which we saw very recently because a friend of ours was in it.
We did.
So she's got like this whole Broadway thing. I found a quote from her because she basically gave up composing at one point. She also wrote stuff for Free to Be You and Me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like you do.
She's been around for a while.
Yeah.
She stopped at one point and like stopped composing and stopped even playing the piano. And like the quote attributed to her was, I just realized at one point, it wasn't really for me. I'm not my father and I'm not my son. And people give up all kinds of stuff all the time.
Good for her.
She seems super cool.
Yeah.
Like real straightforward, which having read the book makes sense because I feel like that's in her writing.
Yeah.
Should we back up for a second?
Yes. What is this book about?
I think you should read the back of the book.
I will do so. So this is just, so you know, a newer edition. This is not the original printing. So I don't know if they rewrote the back for this whenever it was printed. 2009. All right, here we go. Fridays can be pretty freaky. Annabelle Andrews is tired of her mother telling her what to do. She's tired of being told to do her homework, to clean her room, and to be nice to her little brother, Apeface. She wishes she were an adult so that she could do anything she wanted, like watch TV all day and eat marshmallows for breakfast. One Friday morning, Annabelle's wish comes true when she wakes up and realizes she's turned into her mother. But after major drama, a washing machine disaster, losing ape face, and a terrible teacher conference, Annabelle starts to suspect that being an adult is not as much fun as it seems. One thing's for certain, this is one Freaky Friday that Annabelle will never forget. And on the front it says, be careful what you wish for.
So what do you think of this book? Reading it now after having, as you say, like kind of read it a long time ago.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's much weirder than I remembered.
Right?
I think this can best be summed up. I mean, I think a lot of people have read this book, or at least are familiar with the central premise. Mom and daughter change bodies, and they have hijinks and adventures.
Right.
But, like, there's this weird scene where, like, the maid comes to their house, and this is while Annabelle, of course, is in the body of her mother. So the maid is, like, one of the worst, most awful characters I've ever seen in a children's book. She is racist. She uses racist language.
Mm-hmm.
It's right there in the book. On purpose, because she is being portrayed as an awful character, because Annabelle calls her a racist and fires her.
Yes.
Which is great and the right thing to do.
And then, like, in the next chapter, someone else is being racist, and she gets to call them out as well.
Yes. So Annabelle is great in that way. But, like, it was not what I expected. It was much more weird than I expected.
So I've been thinking about this a lot, and I think I figured out part of how Mary Rodgers wrote the book. And I'm speculating here, but tell me whether you think this makes sense.
Yeah.
I think Mary Rodgers wanted to write a book where she could use a child's voice to take shitty adults to task for being shitty.
Yes.
I think she observes a lot of, like, kind of archetypes of crappy people, people who are racist, people who are selfish, and kind of observing how no one necessarily calls them on their shit, but a kid would.
Yes.
So if I put a kid in this adult body, they can call them on all their shit.
Right. They have both the perspective and the power, I suppose, of being able to call other adults on their shit. Because there's that whole parent-teacher conference scene, too, that you really liked.
It's like one of the two best scenes in the book.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah. And the thing about this, too, I think that is important to realize, especially if you haven't read the book and have only seen the movies, is, well, twofold. One, it's in first person. So we hear the entire thing from the first-person perspective of Annabelle, but for most of the book, she's in her mother's body. So we know a lot about what Annabelle is thinking and feeling as she navigates the world in this body of her mother.
And it's important to note, I think, the book starts with her in her mother's body. We don't even meet Annabelle before she's in her mother's body.
Yeah, we hear about it, but we don't see it.
Right.
But two, the other thing, and this is the thing that is probably the biggest difference between the book and any of the movies that we watched, is that we don't know what Annabelle's body is doing with her mother's brain inside of it for 95% of the book.
Yeah.
Like, we hear about it at the end. We have we do not know what her mother is thinking and feeling and doing at all throughout the book. This is, like, almost completely Annabelle's story. And the interesting thing to me is that from what it seems like to me is that when they went to option this plot into films, in every case, it's clearly like a kid's movie starring a kid about a kid. And that was the thing they wanted to do. And I wouldn't be surprised if many of these movies got reasonably far along the pre-production process before they realized, oh, wait a second. This is going to be a movie about an adult.
Right.
Because the kid is not in it. Her body is gone. It is not there. Yes, it is the kid's brain, but visually, this is the story of a adult woman. And so the movie will be about the adult actress that we cast as the mother, and not whatever child actor we're trying to feature at this moment, unless we make a pretty big change as far as what the plot is.
Yeah, and I feel like the biggest thing that I've been thinking about when we look at, like, how this is going to get adapted into movies, and you're talking about one of them already, which is like, okay, the book's not really about the daughter's body, because the daughter's body is not there.
Right.
It's also not really about the characters very much.
Right.
Like, I don't like, Annabelle doesn't really learn much by the end of it. Like, does her character, does she grow a lot by the end, other than kind of oh, I guess I understand a little bit more about what you have to deal with every day.
No, I mean,
Mom.
if anybody grows, it's the mom for saying, when she says, like, wow, I didn't realize what this was like from your perspective. Like when she fires the maid and the mom is like, oh yeah, I never liked her. I didn't realize that she drove you crazy too. Like that kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But Annabelle is herself all the way through. Yeah, there's no big like change that happens by the end.
And there's no stakes either.
No. Well, she almost loses her little brother. And
she thinks she almost loses her little brher, but she didn't.
Yeah.
Like,
and then,
even a little.
And then the big set piece is like her dad's work colleagues are maybe coming to dinner.
And they do. And so there's like the whole subplot where his clients are coming to dinner.
Right.
And so he tells his wife, which is really his daughter,
right,
you've got to make dinner for them. And she's freaking out because she's actually a little kid.
Right.
And they arrive at the door. And there's like a whole thing where she thinks they're the police because she's called the police.
Because her brother's missing.
Right. And figures out halfway through the conversation who they are. And she kind of abandons them and lets the like neighbor boy, Boris, that she really likes, kind of talk to them.
Yeah.
And the stakes are so low that finally he comes back and said, oh yeah, they left.
Yeah.
They left, but they said they're coming back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like everything's fine.
Everything's fine.
There's no consequences, no problems. Like the only person who suffers consequences this entire thing is the shitty maid who's racist and got fired.
Right. Right. And again, like in every single one of the movies, they had to build up this event that the sequence of events is building towards to make it have more consequence.
Right.
Because otherwise it's like, oh, someone's coming to... Because you can do it in a book. You can do it in a book, especially a first-person book, because it's really more about her experience than anything that's going on around her.
Oh, yeah. And just really quickly about her experience, she's not experiencing this in any kind of passive way.
No.
She is like, her thoughts are incredibly active.
Yes.
There's so much going on inside her head. So it's not like the book isn't entertaining and exciting, even because outwardly there's not that much actually happening.
Right.
But as you say, we're in her head.
We're in her head.
So it's totally different.
Yeah, you can't really do that necessarily in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you did, it would be weird. So yeah, every single version, there's like some event at the end that is being built up to. And usually, again, in each of these films, what happens is that they complete whatever task they need to do to get their bodies to swap back, and it happens right at the end, and it's all a big thing. Whereas in the book, they just kind of wake up the next morning and they're in the right bodies again.
Well, I have the line.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the last chapter of the book is her kind of catching the audience up. And so it's just question and answer.
Yeah.
And it's saying like, okay, where was your mom all day in your body? And she tells the whole story of where her mom was. And one of the questions is, well, and then she says, we woke up the next morning and we were back in our bodies. And the implication through the whole book is that her mom did it.
Yeah.
To her. And the audience says, how did she do that? And her answer is, I haven't the foggiest notion. And she says she'll never tell me. Isn't that annoying? Like,
it's very hand wavy.
Like, okay, Mary, like this is a big fuck you to the audience from Mary Rodgers.
Yes.
But in a fun way.
Yeah.
In a playful way.
Well, right. And again, I don't mean to keep... We're going to talk about each of these movies in more detail, but it is interesting the things that none of them kept from the book that all of them changed because they really weren't cinematic and wouldn't be satisfying. And one of them is in no movie did the mom do it consciously.
Yeah.
In the book, it's made clear the mom did something to make it happen because she was frustrated with her daughter. And in each of the movies, in really, I would say, increasingly problematic ways, which is weird. As you go through time, it got worse.
Yeah.
There was some sort of outside force that caused this to happen. And usually the characters had to sort of complete a task or get to a certain mental place in order to forcibly change it back.
Well, because now you have two characters with an arc.
Yes.
So it's not about one person anymore. Now it's about two people.
That's right.
Neither of them wants to be doing the thing that they're doing.
Right.
Neither of them is in favor of their circumstances. And they have to grow and change by the end.
Yes.
So you have to raise the stakes and you have to include both characters in the story.
Yes.
And that's, like, as you say, that's the choice they all made.
Yeah.
I want to just, before we move on from the book,
Yeah.
I want to be a little clearer about why I liked it so much.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So, like, another thing I really like about the book is Mary Rodgers is not expecting all of the entertainment in the book just to come from the central conceit of the body swap.
Mm-hmm.
The world they live in is ridiculous and really funny.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why the parent-teacher conference is one of my favorite scenes, because she's there with, like, 3 or 4 employees from the school.
And they're all zany.
The conversation's super funny, and it's even funnier because one of the adults is actually a child.
Right.
That makes it funnier, but it would be funny either way.
Right.
Like, if she decided that she wanted to write this book about a day in the life of a mother and a daughter, and they were still going through all the same stuff, but from their own perspective, it would still be really funny.
Yeah.
So I think Mary Rodgers finds a lot of humor in the world, and the one-liners in it are super funny.
Yeah.
I found it really good. I enjoyed it a lot. But then 4 years later, Mary Rodgers was hired to write a screenplay
Yes.
for a movie
Yes.
based on her own book.
Yes. Called, coincidentally, Freaky Friday.
Freakish Friday.
Freaky Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And this film starred one of the... It starred exactly who you would imagine would star in a movie about a teenage girl in 1977. The premier child actor of the time, of course, Jodie Foster.
Yeah.
So this came out, like, just for context, the same time as Taxi Driver, like the following year.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird.
Mhm.
And Jodie Foster in this movie, I mean, I feel bad because she's only like 13, but she is the most adorable little baby gay you have ever seen. She's so cute. She's got her deep, raspy, like, trademark voice. She's got, like, a shaggy haircut, and she's wearing, like, I don't get it. I don't understand. I guess maybe in the 70s, it was okay for women and girls to be a little bit more androgynous than it is now. I put okay in quotes, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is nothing in this movie to suggest that this character, Annabelle, is a baby gay.
No, nothing.
But there are so many signifiers that if you watch this movie with that part of your brain turned on, just her hairdo and her appearance and her wardrobe and the sports that she plays, she gets slapped on the butt by another girl more than once. I'm just saying, there's a certain kind of Southern California sporty lesbian thing happening here with Jodie Foster.
My favorite part of the movie. So Jodie Foster, Annabelle, which is really her mom Ellen,
right,
goes to visit her. This is so confusing
it's
to
so
talk
confusing.
about.
It's okay. We're gonna mess this up. Just understand, for the majority of the time, they're body switched.
So if I refer to Annabelle, I really mean her mom,
right?
And if I refer to Ellen, I really mean Annabelle,
right?
Hopefully I keep that straight.
We'll figure it out.
So Annabelle goes to visit at her dad's office, which is really her husband.
Yes.
And when she is there, she meets his secretary, who's like kind of sexy.
Yeah.
Right? And the way it's written, Ellen in Annabelle's body makes things very clear to the secretary that it is not, that her mom wouldn't think it's cool that he's got this sexy secretary.
Yeah.
And kind of threatens her a little bit.
Yeah.
And she like turns around at one point and walks away. And so we get this nice shot of her butt. And we hear one of the things we hear throughout the entire movie is voiceover. We're hearing their internal thoughts, but it's the other actor playing them.
Right.
So we hear Barbara Harris talking.
Right.
But we see Jodie Foster looking.
Right.
And Barbara Harris's voiceover says, I am not a fan of this. But Jodie Foster's face says,
this is great.
I might be a fan of this.
I don't know yet. I'm only 13. But perhaps someday I will be a fan of this.
But honestly, like on the subject of the production of it, I really liked that they used the inner monologue.
Mm-hmm.
They kept that throughout the entire thing, so we're always hearing them say we're always hearing the thoughts in the actual character's voice, which I think it helps keep everything really straight.
Yeah, I would say so, because I would say we watched at least one version where the actors themselves, I think, were confused about which character they were playing at any given time, which then translated, of course, to the audience.
Well, it's super weird watching this version of it, kind of not, because I'd never seen any of the different ones. You hadn't either, right?
No, I hadn't seen any of these.
I didn't know whether the 1976 one was going to be the best one or the worst one. I had no idea. So we're watching it, and it's kind of weird to watch a movie that way, thinking this could be as good as it gets.
Right. Right.
Maybe. And it was good. I enjoyed it.
It was enjoyable. There were definitely, like, again, like these sort of external elements of the plot that they had to add kind of time and tension to it. There was stuff I did not understand what the hell was going on. I'm not even going to get into the mechanics of what this event was that they had to all get to at the end, that the dad had this major work thing. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, so there's like a tradition that gets started in the first one of adding some kind of event,
Yes.
as you were talking about.
Yes.
So in this one, it's water skiing.
Yes.
So Annabelle is a great water skier.
We learn.
And by the end, she's got to go water skiing for her dad's work event on the water.
It's like a demonstration.
I guess.
It's like freestyle water skiing. It's not like water skiing.
I don't know how freestyle it can be.
Well,
You're
she
just
was
getting
gonna,
towed behind a boat.
Yeah, but like she was gonna like jump through hoops and like remember there was like a fire. There was like fire.
But of course, the entire time, like she's really her mom, and her mom doesn't know how to water ski.
That's right.
So it's very, very funny. And then I feel like in order to say this part, I have to back up for a second. How does this movie explain their body switch?
It just happens.
Right?
We just see it happen, just kind of randomly in the morning.
But it is different from the book in that neither of them know it's going to happen.
Neither of them know it's going to happen, and they also don't just wake up that way. They
Right.
just kind of happens, like in the middle of a sentence, essentially.
And we get like a nice split screen of the two of them saying
going
the
like,
same thing.
like looking like they're being electric shocked, and some very bad special effects.
And then at the end, when they switch back, it's because both of them like say the same thing at the same time.
Yes.
And they've reached some understanding of each other, and they both wish they could be back in their own bodies. It like honestly, it doesn't even really do much about like learning what it's like to be the other person.
Right.
It's more they just need to think the same thing at the same time.
Right. But the other thing that happens in this one that doesn't happen in any of the other ones that's really weird is
I think
that
this is what I was going to get to.
when they switch back, it's not putting the right brain back in the right body. It's switching the bodies around the brains.
Yeah.
So suddenly the mom is still on the water skis, but it's the mom in her mom body, and Annabelle is driving a car.
With children in it.
With children in it. So like it doesn't act, usually when the brains switch back, it solves whatever problem they've gotten themselves into. But in this case, it makes it worse.
Makes it way worse.
Because now you have a 13-year-old driving a car in this sort of like Keystone Cops thing outrunning the police.
Which I guess she already was. She was just
She
in her
already
mom's
was, but
body.
she was in her mom's body. But that's what I'm saying. It didn't solve any problem that they were having.
Right.
And now her mom, who can't water ski, is up on water skis.
All it's done is confuse the dad.
Yeah.
Like, I love how they just try to have the dad, like, he's literally watching his daughter water ski, and now suddenly it's his wife.
Yeah.
And he's just confused.
He's just like, oh, that was interesting. And then the pavilion... So he and his like business associates, I said I wasn't going to talk about this dumb thing at the end, but now I'm going to talk about it. He and his business associates are all like in the middle of the marina in this floating pavilion watching this water skiing demonstration. And I turned to you at one point, I was like, I want that goddamn thing to sink.
But of course it's gonna sink.
Of course it's gonna sink, and then you see like the I don't know, the
one
air.
of the skis pierces the pontoon.
It pierces the pontoon, and I was like, yes, it's gonna sink, and then of course it does sink.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay, so one of the things that I think happens in most of them, including the book, is that as they're each in each other's bodies, they give each other a makeover.
Yes.
And I want to talk about Jodie Foster's makeover in this because it made me upset.
Well, hang on. Can you back up for a second?
Yes.
How does the makeover function in the book?
The makeover functions in the book that the mom, essentially, once she's in control of the child's body, just goes and like gets her hair kind of trimmed and gets her braces off.
Yep.
Which does happen in this one as well. This is the only one I think where she has braces and gets them taken off.
Mm-hmm.
Which she was due to have that done that day anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And just like gets her like an outfit, and she like looks nice, right? And
Yeah.
then it turns out Annabelle kind of likes it.
And I feel like there's a couple of implications. One, like you say, she kind of likes it, and two, it sounds like she didn't need that much.
Yeah.
To look good.
Right. But in this case, okay, so
In this case, Annabelle already looks awesome.
I'm probably biased because literally everything Annabelle is wearing in this movie is something I would wear. Currently today, as a 34-year-old woman, she's wearing sneakers.
Mm-hmm. But like Converse.
She's wearing bell-bottom jeans, which I said I wouldn't wear bell bottoms. She is wearing a like chambray like button-down shirt, over which she is wearing a red and white striped t-shirt. And I wouldn't wear those two things together, but I definitely own a chambray button-down shirt and a red and white striped t-shirt. And as I said before, she has her hair in this extremely cute, like sort of shag haircut. And her mom in her body takes her and basically gets like, she's in like this like very 70s hideous mint green pantsuit. We only see it for a couple seconds.
Yeah.
It's actually not a big deal, but she gets her hair done and it's awful. A, awful. B, the exact same hairstyle that she had in Taxi Driver when she was the child sex worker. So that was a little bit disturbing that like that is the good haircut, like sort of a child being sexualized to have her hair very curled at the ends.
Well, there's even a moment at the end where she says to where Ellen says to Annabelle, "I'm sorry I got your hair done. I hope you like it."
I hope you like it. And she's like, "Oh, I do like it." And I'm like, "No,
you
was so
don't
cute
though.
Before.
It's just like all feathered. It doesn't look good.
It doesn't look good. She looks great from the moment she wakes up. I mean, I haven't thought about this until this moment, but Jodie Foster by far is my favorite Annabelle.
I gotta think about that for a second.
Barbara Harris is not my favorite mom. We haven't even really talked about her.
I don't know that I have favorites. I do think Barbara Harris did a fantastic job, though. Like, I actually think Barbara Harris did one of the best jobs playing her daughter.
I don't disagree, but there's somebody that I liked better. But I'm telling you that I thought Jodie Foster was adorable, and I loved her in this.
I thought both of them acquitted themselves nicely, and also were both nominated. They were both nominated for a Golden Globe for playing the same part.
I thought they did an excellent job, as you say, both playing each other. Like I thought they together did a great job doing that.
But neither of them was your favorite actor in the movie.
No, we both had a favorite actor in this movie. R.I.P.
If you had to make, and you just assume, because he couldn't possibly be still alive.
No, there's no way.
If you had to make a top 5 list of cutest dogs you've ever seen in any movie ever, where would Max rank?
Number 1. This is the cutest dog. And he's a major character. He's in a lot of it. They have the number 1 cutest dog that I've ever seen in any movie. It's a giant floppy basset hound.
It's not even that big. Like, I feel like for basset hounds can get really big.
Yeah, I mean, they were picking him up frequently.
He's like a little basset hound.
Every time he appeared on screen, we both freaked out to the point that the joke was that our dog was like saying to us, "What are you doing?" I'm right here. He's so good. I love him so much.
He's really cute.
There's no way that dog could still be alive.
No, not even
a little.
No.
R.I.P. Max the dog.
Yeah. I guess the biggest thing I have to say about it is I think it's super fun. It makes some really radical changes that kind of stick with every version of Freaky Friday after that.
Yeah.
Like we said, you're involving both of the characters and making them both more of characters. The thing that switches them back is learning something about each other, so there's more of an arc, and the stakes are raised because there's an event at the end.
Yeah.
So it adds all those things.
I mean, the other thing that I would just say to add to that is that something that this introduces, I guess, that the book really doesn't have at all, is what this would feel like from the perspective of you, an adult. Like, because I feel like everyone has kind of had that thought, God, I would love to just do one day with my brain, knowing what I know now. I would be the most confident 8th grader. It would be amazing, which is basically what happens. And so there's this scene where Mom in Annabelle's body is in history class, and the teacher is asking about the Korean War. And of course, the mom knows all about the Korean War because she was alive for it. And it was current events for her. She stands up and starts giving this basically impromptu presentation on the Korean War. And the teacher is extremely impressed. And all the kids, of course, are making fun of her. But I turned to you and I was like, this is what you want. This is the dream, the adult dream of the body swap. You know something better than everybody else. You are the smartest person in the room because of your experience that you have from your adult brain. And also, you don't care that the 12-year-old boy sitting next to you is making fun of you because you know he's an idiot and don't care about impressing him. That's the dream, right? Like, that's living the dream. So that scene really spoke to me as an adult watching this movie from an adult perspective.
I thought Jodie Foster did such a good job, like, talking to her friends, like talking to Annabelle's friends as her mom.
Yes.
There's that great joke that they introduced where, like, her friends are all going, oh, you're your mom. You're playing your mom. You're 100% right. And they all just started imitating their own moms.
Yes.
And it's really cute.
It's cute.
It's very, very cute. But, so here's the big but, though.
Yes.
So they add all of these things. They change the basic construction of the story. I say they. Mary Rodgers changed this
Yes.
to make it a movie. My biggest criticism of it is it loses the rhythm that the book had. I thought this book, as I said, was hysterical. And one of the things that makes it so funny is how snappy it is.
Mm-hmm.
There is always a joke happening, like always. And the movie slows things down a lot.
Yeah.
So, like, the parent-teacher conference
Yes.
is super, super funny, kind of beginning to end. There's this big emotional moment that happens in the parent-teacher conference where one of the teachers says, no, I'm giving her a flunking grade, but she's great. She's one of my favorite students, and I'm failing her, and then, like, starts to cry.
Yeah.
And it's this great scene, but the thing that makes it so great is that it's following pages of comedy.
Yes.
Where everything's absurd. In the movie, the parent-teacher conference happens. It's only between her and two people, and they cut straight to that moment.
Right.
So it kind of excises all of the jokes.
Right.
It doesn't have that, so I like it. I think it's a good movie,
Mhm.
but I don't think it was as good as the book.
So apparently, for some reason, there needs to be a Freaky Friday for every generation.
Yep.
Disney has clearly owned this property since 1977 because everything we're talking about is a Disney movie. In 1995, they made a Disney Channel television film of Freaky Friday, starring, again, like always, like just the epitome of who you would think it would be for that year. So,
but for a TV movie.
For a TV movie. So who's going to be the mom? Of course, it's Shelley Long.
Yep.
And the kid is Gabby Hoffman.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you think of this one?
It's a piece of shit.
And
I feel so bad saying that because it's like a really, really cheap Disney movie.
Yes.
Disney Channel movie.
Yes.
So I don't want to say that it's bad just because it's like shot over the course of a weekend for $10.
Right?
I don't think it's that kind of stuff doesn't bother me that much.
Yeah.
I also think it's bad.
Yeah. I mean, the worry is that whoever adapted the screenplay wasn't totally sure what this was about, I think. Well, and this was the one where I said, I think they keep forgetting which character they're supposed to be because it seemed that neither mother nor daughter could keep it together for 5 minutes at a time to remember that they were in the body of the other person. And it was clearly being played for comedy, but it was super awkward and also not that funny because it's just the same joke over and over and over and over again. They're not trying to problem solve understanding whose body that they're in. It's just this joke of like, oh, an adult is acting like a teenager. Oh, a teenager is acting like the mother of the other teenagers. Like that was the joke over and over and over again.
Well, so this is the thing I think I figured out about this. And I'm building on what you're saying.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, the writer of this screenplay doesn't understand what made the book funny.
Yes.
Or what made the original funny.
Yeah.
So, like I said about the book, you could remove the whole body swap part and it would still be a funny book because all the characters are funny and the dialogue is really snappy and funny. Thinking back on this version, if you removed our two main characters, are there any characters in this entire TV movie that are funny?
No.
Is there any comedy that comes from anything that anyone other than the two of them is saying?
No. There's a little bit. There's the one guy that works with her mom, not the mom's boyfriend.
But Taylor Negron?
Yes.
Yep.
He's funny.
Mm-hmm. He's a little funny.
In his sort of like
the young guy?
No, Taylor Negron.
Okay, yeah.
The older like coded as gay guy.
Yeah.
He's quite funny in his sort of like world weary way because. And he actually has a little bit of an arc because basically Gabby Hoffman keeps calling to try to deal with work problems, of course, with the mind of her mother. And at the beginning, he basically keeps saying to her, Annabelle, it's fine. Don't worry about your mother. Everything's okay. Like, don't call here. Like, we're adults. We're dealing with this problem. And by the end of the day, the mother has screwed everything up so badly that he is on the phone with who he thinks is Annabelle, like essentially getting advice from her and telling her what's going on, because it's sort of this thing like, oh, well, I guess it can't hurt. Things are going really badly over here. And he's pretty funny.
That's it, though.
But it's a very small role also. It's not a major character.
And this is a movie, it's got like Carol Kane and Sandra Bernhard and Drew Carey.
Carol Kane's like track was incomprehensible.
But backing up for a second.
Yes.
That I think is the big problem with this.
Yes.
Is they think all the comedy should come from the body swap, and they don't do a good job of making any of it funny.
Yes.
It is deeply uncomfortable.
Yes.
How many times did you get that like pit in you of, would you say a comedy of
embarrassment?
Yeah.
Yeah, like so many times. It's so awkward. Like, they did not do a good job of thinking through what the response of other characters would be to this behavior. So Shelley Long is like on rollerblades, acting half the movie acting very strange,
acting more childish than a child.
Because we already saw the child and she doesn't act like this.
Mm-hmm.
So that was part of it, that we didn't think the performances in any way echoed each other. It was just like, oh, play a child. Don't play this particular quite bright, articulate, like we learn smart, funny child who is maybe a little bit troubled.
Mm-hmm.
So she just seemed like stunted and weird, but in a way that the people that are closest to her would be like, okay, this woman's having a breakdown. Like,
yeah,
we're not just going to stand around going, we don't know, I don't know, she's acting weird. Like, people would do something about it. And then the thing in particular we noticed is like, okay, so at the end, this big event that they're building towards is Annabelle has a diving meet. She's on the diving team. And Shelley Long, her mother in her body, does not know how to swim. Or doesn't, whatever.
She's afraid of heights.
She's afraid of heights. I'm so sorry. So which we know is set up at the very beginning of the movie. She tries to get on a ladder, can't do it.
I hate that shit so much.
And so basically what you would see if you were a real person in that situation is a little child, 13-year-old child, saying, I don't want to do this. I'm scared. Something weird is going on. Forcing them to do it.
Who forces her?
The gym teacher.
And
the principal.
Yeah.
Who's Mrs. Peacock.
Right. Yes. They're like, her coach and the principal are forcing her to go up the ladder to do this dive.
Yeah, her principal, who she's already been in detention like 4 times today. It's a very eventful day.
My note about that is like, rightfully so. Yeah. She's being a little shit to people.
Being the worst. And again, like not behaving in the way her mother would behave. Like just, it's very strange. But then like basically she gets up there and is clearly like having a panic attack. Like she's on her hands and knees on the diving board, like crawling to the end. And at that point, any adult, like I understand it's a kid's movie and I understand it's not realistic, but like you have to, if you're creating a world, even if you're creating a world in which impossible things happen, you have to operate within the rules of the world for your audience to be engaged. I feel like that's like number one point of world building, is that your world has to be consistent. And in this, the conceit is that everything is totally normal except for this thing that's happening to these two people. So any totally normal human being seeing this child clearly in distress and literally having a panic attack, physically distraught, would not make her dive in the pool. Like they would go up and be like, oh, something's wrong. Something's wrong. Like, let's go get her. Like, get the EMS. Like, help her. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. That
at the very least, get her a cup of water.
Get her some water. Like let her go. Let her go later. Like it's just very upsetting. The other funny thing is like, of course, she does the dive. We then find out they did switch back because she did the dive good.
Like right at the beginning of the dive.
Yes. So she did the dive good. And then everyone's acting like the meet is over and she won. It's the first dive of the meet. Like no one else has gone. Like the other team, it's like, oh, you dove so good that the other team doesn't even get to go. They came here on the bus. They warmed up. They're in their swimsuits. No, it's over. You got a 10. You did good.
No, you did the dive.
You did the good dive.
No one ever dives again because you did the good dive.
Yes.
And like she gets like 3 like all the judges hold up just like 10,
and
10,
yeah,
10.
Jeremy was like, it wasn't that good.
Like it wasn't perfect. Yeah, I guess the best example I can think of where the comedy just doesn't work, like the fish out of water kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There's like a running thing where the mom knows how to speak Spanish.
Yes.
So she's at her job is her job even important? She makes like clothes for kids.
Yeah, she's some sort of bulk, like wholesale fashion designer.
But anyway, she is meeting with some people to talk about some fabric samples, and they speak Spanish and not English. But the mom speaks Spanish, so it's totally fine. But Annabelle doesn't speak Spanish.
Yes.
So there's a whole scene where she's having this very uncomfortable conversation with them where all she knows how to say is yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't funny.
No, it's not funny.
I get the joke, and which is weird for me because normally I feel like explaining the joke makes it funnier. But getting it didn't help. It's like painfully unfunny. And I remember turning to you when it was happening going like, how unfunny did everybody understand this to be when they were getting ready to make it and made it and edited it? Like, is this the kind of thing where the writer is sitting down going, this is gold, and then the actors are like, oh my God, this is so good, and the editor's like, I have cut this beautifully, and then it's out? Or is it the kind of thing where even the writer is going, this sucks, but we got a deadline.
Yeah,
and the actors are going, this sucks, but I want to eat lunch.
Yeah, I think what I said to you was this is the kind of thing where everybody just turned up to do a job for the Disney Channel daytime movie, which is unfortunate. Like, you'd think people would want to take more pride in their work.
It bums me out so much because, like, certain things I feel like don't take money or time to do.
Like, be good.
Like, yeah, basic quality. Basic logic and quality doesn't like logic.
We've talked about this before. Logic is free.
Logic is free. It doesn't cost any more. Like, it's so frustrating.
I mean, the most frustrating thing to me. So basically this is available on YouTube in like 7 parts because it was apparently uploaded when you could only upload 10 minutes at a time to YouTube. So that was how we got to watch it. And the one shining point for me was that I thought we were going to be able to watch the original commercials from when this aired in 1995, and they had thoughtfully trimmed them out. But I was mad because I really wanted to see them.
And I reminded you, how much longer would it have been if it had the commercials in it?
So much longer. I will say we had a little bit of disagreement on the fashion in this movie because you said, well, boy, there's a lot of overalls and stripes and plaid. And I said,
that wasn't a value judgment. That was an observation.
Okay. I thought you were saying it wasn't good.
No, I'm saying I grew up in the 90s and it was taking me back.
I guess what I'm saying is that if 1977 Jodie Foster is what I would wear today as an adult, 1995 Gabby Hoffman is what I did wear in 1995. At one point, she's wearing like baggy overalls, a striped t-shirt, and a flannel. And I was like, I had every single item of clothing and wore them all the time. That was what I wore every single day. Yes. That this is all true.
So there's only 2 things I have left to talk about in this version. The first, I don't even think we need to talk about him for very long, but I'd like to talk about Alan Rosenberg as Bill.
Okay.
And what he represents from a larger story perspective.
Now, this is the mom's boyfriend?
Yes.
Okay.
A soon-to-be fiancé.
Oh,
she's nearly affianced.
Yes.
So in the original book, her parents are married.
Yes.
In the original movie, her parents are married.
Yes.
In this one, though, they introduce a change.
Yes.
Where her mom is single.
Yes, she is a child of divorce.
Yeah. Broken home. My first note about the movie, because they make it really clear from the beginning that this is like she's a child of divorce, they seem fine. Like, they seem like they're doing just fine.
Yeah, they're not having any bad fights. She's okay.
Like, the fight they have that kind of leads to this stuff happening is no worse than most fights that people have with their parents.
Mm-hmm.
It's really not that bad. Their lives are pretty good, and she's doing like a really good job of being there for her kids and like providing for them.
Yeah.
And like Annabelle's a good kid.
Yeah.
Like, they're doing fine.
Yeah. Well, I guess I will say one thing we forgot to mention in 77, actually in all these versions, she has a baby brother.
Yeah.
That she calls Ape Face.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole thing in the original book is that Ape Face is perfect. He's very cute and very good and very blonde and very neat. And he's basically everything Annabelle can't be and isn't. But through the course of sort of him treating her, thinking she's his mom, and talking to her about how he feels about Annabelle, which is he adores her as his older sister, she sort of comes to have a newfound respect and a better relationship with her brother. So, 1977, I'm just going to go back for 1 second. the little boy is perfect. He's so cute. He's so good. He's exactly what you would imagine. He is, and he's little.
Mm-hmm.
He's littler than any brother in either of the other two movies. He's very little. He's only like 6. He's adorable. In 1995, the brother is so annoying. And that's the thing, again, that I'm not sure the writers of this movie, kind of what you were saying before, understood like, they didn't understand what was funny. They're like, oh, she's got a bratty little brother. Yeah, of course. And he's not. Like, the whole point is he's not bratty. He's really sweet, but annoys her because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And in this, he's just annoying.
I mean, one thing that took me a minute to understand, he keeps making, like, dinosaur noises.
Yeah.
And it literally took me the whole movie to kind of just put myself back in 1995 and go, okay, wait a second.
Jurassic Park.
Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah.
That tracks. But it doesn't track with the character.
No, because he is a goody-goody. Like,
Yeah.
he's wearing, like,
But
suspenders.
he's just really annoying.
He's really annoying.
He gets beat up by bullies. Anyway. Getting back to the family
Sorry.
thing. So the big change they want to make is now the mom has a boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And he is Bill.
Yes.
He's played by Alan Rosenberg.
And he looks exactly as you would imagine a mom's boyfriend in 1995 would look and dress. He's got, like, little glasses and, like, beige pants.
He's like if you took a loaf of Wonder Bread
Yeah.
and cut all of the crust off, so you were only left with the soft inside, and then you turned that into a person.
Yes.
That is who this character is.
Yes.
And he's probably more than anyone reacting badly to the way that they're acting the whole movie. Like, he's super confused by the way that he thinks this is his girlfriend,
Yes.
but really it's her daughter.
Right.
And he's very confused. And also, one thing they do in this movie is they're constantly trying to tell people who they really are.
And no one believes them.
At all, because that's crazy.
Right.
And that's the reason she never tells anyone in the book, is because she knows they'll think she's crazy.
Right.
But in this one, she's constantly trying to tell him, and he won't understand, and he won't understand. And then finally at the end, he just goes, oh, she's Annabelle.
And we were both like, oh, good thing this man has come along to fix this problem.
My only note at that moment was, Jesus Christ, this movie. I hated it so much.
Yes.
This character should not have been in it. It was so dumb.
nothing.
They didn't need him.
He's nothing.
It's bad. So that's the first thing. The second thing is this. I stopped you before, and I really apologize
That's
for that.
fine.
But you wanted to jump straight to the racial insensitivity.
Oh, God.
And I think we should talk about it now.
Okay, so this is the first of 2 that introduce an outside element that is explained
Yes.
as to why they switch. In the Jodie Foster one, they don't explain it. It just happens. But I guess someone in their wisdom decided that wasn't good enough.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens in
We're going to make it better.
this particular one is that a boyfriend is on this business trip and brings home for Annabelle and her mother 2 talismans. How many times do you think they say the word talisman in this film?
A, too many.
Yes.
B, 24 times.
Yeah.
Like 20 times.
Talismans from, and this is a direct quote, the Orient.
Mm-hmm.
The word Orient and Oriental, not referring to rugs, is used many times in this movie.
My only note was, when did we stop saying the Orient? Because I think it was before 1995.
Yeah, that was what I said. It was before this. So good.
And they keep saying it. They
So
keep
many
saying it throughout
times.
the movie.
So many times. It's so bad. Okay. At the beginning of the movie, the reason that they get switched is because one of them is wearing their talisman. The other one has already taken it off.
No, they both are. They're both wearing it when they say they're both wearing their talismans.
Okay.
And they both say, I wish I could be.
Switched places.
Yep.
Blah, blah, blah.
And then it happens, and then one of them takes theirs off.
Gotcha.
But it happens after the switch.
Gotcha. So anyway, it's the talisman that causes the switch.
Uh-huh. And literally, like, the shot of he gives them the talismans from his trip when they're having dinner, and the dinner is Chinese takeout.
Yeah.
So there's like a shot of the table,
Yeah.
and it's just Chinese takeout boxes with these 2 talismans lying there.
This is what happens.
Just to make people understand what's happening.
Because they're from the Orient, you see.
Yes.
And they glow green.
So who's the first person that mom in Annabelle's body goes to talk to about these talismans?
She goes to talk to, like, the school librarian, I guess, who is Carol Kane.
Yeah.
And Carol Kane says to her, oh, I don't really know, but you should go talk to so-and-so who works in such and such a place. And
Like
so
a different teacher.
A different teacher in some other part of the building. And so she does, and it's Carol Kane again. And she says to her, "Are you twins?" And Carol Kane says, "No." I believe what she says is, "Twins share an egg and we don't share an egg." Which, A,
WTF.
is a bug fuck nuts thing to say. B, totally unexplained from there why it's the same person. C, biologically untrue.
Yep.
You don't have to share an egg to be twins. Twins happen in two different ways. One involves an egg splitting, the other involves multiple eggs. Thank you.
But anyway, what does Carol Kane tell her?
She tells her it's a talisman
Yep.
from the Orient.
Uh-huh. And first she thinks the language on it is Sanskrit.
Yeah.
And then realizes, oh no, it's Chinese.
Right.
It's just Chinese.
So then...
This may be this thousands of year old dead language that no one speaks. Oh, no, wait,
No, it's
hang on.
Chinese.
It's Chinese. It's Chinese.
So
Billions of people
then-
speak this language.
So then she goes, "Okay, well, where would I go to find someone who can read Chinese? I know, I will go to the local Chinese restaurant."
Right.
Where she meets Chief Engineer Jim Shimoda of Star Trek fame, who takes her to his elderly mystical Chinese father.
Mm-hmm. You
who-
just said like 7 tropes, like
I-
all wrapped up into one.
I'm just literally describing what happens in this film.
I appreciate that.
Who interprets this talisman, and then I guess
It's a talisman, you say.
yes. And it's a little fuzzy at this point, but I guess it gives them some instructions on what they need to do to switch back.
What they find out is that if they don't switch back by the end of the day, it's permanent.
Right.
So the stakes have now been raised.
Yes.
Quite a lot.
Yes.
We've managed to introduce new stakes and also some casual racism,
Yes.
which I think is probably this version's greatest contribution to the Freaky Friday triptych that
That's
we're
right.
talking about.
Great.
Can you say triptych?
Triad trilogy?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
This movie's so bad.
I mean, it was unpleasant.
And
And also, like, just physically unpleasant because there was, like, this horrible... Because it was this horrible rip from the Disney Channel to a VHS to YouTube 20 years ago. So there was just this, like, hiss the whole time we were... It was awful. Don't watch it. It was not good.
the only high point of the movie for me is there one point, so Shelley Long's like on rollerblades with she's dressing very safely for rollerblades.
Yeah.
She's got the helmet and the pads on and everything. And she's going down the street and she goes underneath a sign, and the store has this giant hanging sign outside that just says Interactive CD-ROM Store, which made me so happy. It just made me so
It's
happy.
just brilliant.
So not 8 years after this TV movie that we will never talk about again,
One every half generation.
Disney made a new version of Freaky Friday, for this time for theaters.
Yes.
So a couple things about this. Here's this movie's bona fides. So it was screenplay by Heather Hatch and Leslie Dixon. Leslie Dixon has done a number of different things, including a lot of adaptations of
Okay.
different materials. So she might come up again at some point. But Heather Hatch did a couple of things other than this. She wrote the libretto for the Legally Blonde musical.
That's where I've heard that name before.
Yep.
For sure.
So there's
the Legally Blonde musical is great, by the way. If anyone thinks, oh, it's not, Legally Blonde, it's awesome. Highly recommend.
I know you like it.
I really like it.
She also co-wrote the book in 2009, Freaky Monday, with Mary Rodgers.
She did. Her name is on the back here. Yep.
So she co-wrote this movie. It's directed by Mark Waters, who also directed a year later Mean Girls.
Yes.
Which is like stone cold new classic. I love Mean Girls. We've got a number of good people in this movie. Who plays Anna Coleman.
For some reason.
For some reason, they have changed all of the names.
It's not Goldman.
It's
Coleman.
Coleman.
A lot of inside jokes in this episode.
Yeah. So who plays Anna Coleman?
Lindsay Lohan.
Yes. Yeah. This is like her
Lilo.
This is her like second movie or something like that. Like she
Lilo.
did The Parent Trap and then a couple years later did this.
Little baby Lilo.
Yeah. This was when she was still just Lindsay Lohan.
She's just a little kid.
Jamie Lee Curtis
Oh my God.
plays Dr. Tess Coleman.
She's so good.
Did you know that this role, there were 3 actresses that I found out who were specifically offered this part?
Okay.
Who do you think in 2003 the producers would have said, oh, do you know who we could get to play the mom and it would be great?
Oh, Jodie Foster.
Okay, she said no.
Good.
Because she did not want her casting to overshadow the movie.
Good for her.
Which it would have, and good for her.
Good for her.
Then they went with Annette Bening.
Ah.
And Annette Bening was going to do it and dropped out at like the last minute. So they cast Jamie Lee Curtis like 4 days before they started shooting.
Could not have made a better choice. You know what I would love to see Jamie Lee Curtis, like today Jamie Lee Curtis?
Mhm.
I would love to see her in something with today Emma Thompson. I think the two of them would hit it off.
I bet it would be great.
Yes. And she is sort of, in a way, British.
Yes,
Yes,
she is.
if you were to give her her full title, she is Baroness Hayden Guest.
Mhm. Because who is she married to?
Christopher Guest.
Uh-huh.
Or Baron Hayden Guest.
Right.
Yes.
She's so good in this.
She's so good.
There's a number of good people in this movie, but there are two leads.
Yes.
Okay. I'd never seen it. You had never seen it.
No.
Kind of first reactions. What'd you think of this movie?
Other than one element that we're going to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
As a movie, I think it was the best movie that we watched.
I'm honestly super torn between this one and the original.
Mm.
I think both of them did some things really, really well. I think this one did some things really, really well. I thought the original was the one that got closest to the original sense of humor from the book.
That's fair.
Which is what I responded to.
That's fair.
Like, to be fair, I don't think it needs to be required to make an adaptation of this book,
Yeah.
but it was what I was there for.
Let me ask you this.
Mhm.
Which version did we both cry?
Oh, this one.
This one.
I cried a little bit. You cried more than I did, which is not normal for us.
It just got to me. The end just got to me.
Well, and this is the big thing they changed.
Yeah.
Because like we said, in the book, there isn't this big emotional relationship between her and her mom.
Yeah.
That's any different than a little girl loves her mom.
Right.
Her mom doesn't really learn much.
Yeah.
She doesn't really learn much.
Yeah.
But like, what's the big, like,
Well, they
spoiler alert for everything.
yeah.
Go for it.
I guess this is 2003.
Yeah.
In this one, they both go on a journey.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning of the movie, Anna she's pretty disturbed, actually, because she is still mourning the death of her father.
Mm-hmm. They said,
And-
"Oh, you're gonna do divorce, 1995."
We're gonna do death. And her mother, she feels that her mother has moved on too quickly because her mother is set to get married to beautiful Silver Fox Mark Harmon,
Now, is there
aka CJ's dead boyfriend from The West Wing, who was shot buying her a rose.
which is a reference I understand now.
Yes, shot to death buying her a rose. He let his guard down for 1 second, the Secret Service agent, and it was no bueno.
I feel a little bad that we're spoiling that, but not that
That
bad.
came out like the year that this movie came out. The
Mhm.
statute of limitations is over.
He's good in this.
He's very good. So anyway,
He's definitely, like, of the father figures, he's definitely the best one.
yes,
Of any of them.
I would say so. So Lilo is disturbed by this.
Uh-huh.
And her relationship with her mother at the beginning, and I like that they did it this way because it gives them somewhere to go. Her relationship is disturbing. She is angry,
Mhm.
and her mother is angry, and they are mad at each other and yell a lot.
And they don't communicate, and they're, like, really repressed emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing that actually one sort of subtle thing that I did really like about it is that even beneath the surface of that sort of fraught relationship, even from the very beginning, you do see they really love each other.
Yeah.
Like in the beginning when they're in the Chinese restaurant and we'll explain this in a second, but the earthquake
they're
happens.
they're in a Chinese restaurant?
We're going to explain it in a second, but the earthquake happens and Lindsay Lohan's in the bathroom because she's walked in there and slammed the door because they've just been screaming at each other. The first reaction of both of them to each other is, "Oh my God, are you okay?"
Mhm.
Like they love each other.
Yes.
And that's very clear.
They just don't get each other.
They just don't get each other. So there is an intense emotional journey that they both go on, learning to understand each other and learning to accept Mark Harmon at the end. That really paid off, I felt, emotionally because we both cried at the end when Jamie Lee Curtis gives the speech about the family and like the history of the family.
Because the whole thing is that they've added is that she's getting married the next day.
Yes.
Like the wedding is the day after this Freaky Friday.
Yes.
And so there's the rehearsal dinner that night.
And the Battle of the Bands.
yeah, which is the big. Okay, so in 1976, it's water skiing.
Yeah.
Then it's diving.
Yeah.
And now it's a battle of the bands.
Yeah, because
There's a hard left turn.
They've made Anna kind of a punk rock kid.
Yeah. I read all this stuff about how much Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis both like learned how to play the guitar for this.
Yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis looks really good playing the
She
guitar.
looks awesome.
Lindsay Lohan doesn't.
Does not.
Like,
Does not.
at all.
No.
Like so much so, like the whole thing is she's rehearsing with her band and they say, we got this battle of the bands tomorrow night. It just happened. And her mom says, well, you can't go because we have the rehearsal dinner for my wedding, which, by the way,
legit.
Totally legit. Lindsay Lohan didn't look like she was playing well enough for them to say that they wouldn't just do the show without her. That was my feeling about that.
I mean, again, I was just going to add the other thing about them learning guitar. Jamie Lee Curtis also married to a rock legend. So,
Yes.
she could get some lessons probably at home.
Yeah. Well, he's not a rock legend, but he plays one on TV.
That's right. That's right. She saw him in Spinal Tap and said, that's the man for me.
Mm-hmm.
She called his agent. They went on a date. And now they're married.
I want to have dinner with Jamie Lee Curtis and Christopher Guest.
I think a lot of people do.
I feel like they're just two fucking cool people.
They seem cool. Anyway. All right. So something we haven't really talked about because it hasn't mattered that much in any previous version is sort of the love interest aspect of the plot of this. And so you had a couple things you wanted to say about sort of the character of Boris.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So in the original book, they have a neighbor who lives in their apartment building named Boris.
Or Morris.
Well, yeah. That's like ruining the joke.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's a great joke, though. So they have this neighbor named Boris, and Annabelle thinks he's beautiful and wonderful and loves him. He's a couple years older than she is.
Yeah.
And he thinks she's kind of sucks because she hit him in the head with a shovel like 2 years before and like cracked his skull open. But throughout the entire book, he's interacting with who he thinks is her mother, but really it's her inside. And he kind of gets a thing for her mom.
A little bit.
And in the book...
Not explicitly, but a little bit.
No, he does. He says, I love you.
Yeah.
Like there's a whole thing. Because she acts like a kid and he thinks that's great. And it's like a crush.
Yeah.
And it's really cute. And it's also the book is so fast paced that you don't really dwell on it. It never gets creepy because you never think for a second anything's going to happen.
Right.
He's just as absurd as any other character.
Yeah.
He's not like the one normal person in all of this. He's also weird.
Yeah.
Which makes it okay, I
Yes.
think. Then in the original movie, we do get the Boris character, and he is really close to the book character. And it's like little baby Mark McClure from like Back to the Future and Superman, the movie. He's just adorable.
And he's in the 2003 one. He's got a little cameo.
As Boris.
Yeah.
It's so cute. It's great. As a character named Boris.
Yes.
There's like the conversation in the book that I love so much is he's talking to the mom. And he says, like, I don't mean to eavesdrop, but I heard you say you were missing 2 persons and maybe 3. Who else besides Apeface have you lost? She's talking to the police because she thinks her son and Annabelle are gone. And she says, I've lost my mother and maybe my daughter. What's it to you? And he says, nothing, I guess. I mean, I wouldn't consider Annabelle any great loss. A headline flashed through my mind. Insane mother of 2 stabs 14-year-old babysitter with a ballpoint pen. Like, I love that.
Yes.
They have a great relationship, and he doesn't hold back at all, which I really like. So he's in the Jodie Foster version, and he's cute, and it's good. They kind of take out most of the humor around his character.
Yes.
Like, it's not all there, but it's still kind of funny. In 1995, he's no longer Boris. Now he's Luke.
Yeah.
And he's played by, what's his name? Andrew Keegan?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know him from 10 Things I Hate About You.
Yeah. I think that's what everyone knows him from.
But he's like 1995, the hot boy.
Yes.
That's the hot boy version of the hot 1995 version of a boy.
Yeah.
He's nothing.
Yeah. He's
like,
not interesting.
He's nothing. But then in this one,
He's Chad Michael Murray.
he's Chad Michael Murray
Teen heartthrob.
as Jake. What'd you think of Jake?
I hated Jake.
Did you hate the character?
Jake is everything I despise and find unattractive. Well, I said so every time he comes on screen, Lindsay Lohan's basically like batting her eyelids and smiling.
And by extension, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Right. And just this sort of like, I mean, I call it it's like 90s hair, even though this was 2003, but I guess it's early aughts too. This sort of like, male chin length bob, like textured bob,
where his soul patch and the end of his hair are at the same level.
Yeah, I was going to mention the soul. I hadn't come to the soul patch yet,
sorry.
but that's fine. And he rides a motorcycle, and
So cool.
I
He's
guess
so cool.
so. I am confused because for most of the movie, he is a student at the school. Like, clearly he's a senior. He's like an 18-year-old senior.
Yeah.
We hope he's 18 for reasons that will become clear in a second. But then, like, just there's this throwaway line, like, he can get her into the teacher's lounge because, oh, I work here.
Yeah.
And then it turns out he works at the coffee shop too. Why did we ever understand who he is and why he's at the school?
I feel like this is the best point for me to say this.
Yeah.
This movie is not perfect.
I know.
Like, and I'm not even implying that it is. We both really enjoyed it, but like, I have so many of my notes are just weird lapses in logic and things that don't make sense and things that don't connect. It's not great.
Yeah.
But it is what it's doing really well.
Right.
But this is like the best example I can think of where like stuff just doesn't really make sense in it.
Doesn't make sense. So essentially what happens is he's sort of interested in Anna at the beginning, and then he hangs out with her mom's brain, and he thinks she's kind of lame. But then he meets, quote, her mom, who's into like the same bands he is, and like all pretty much just that.
This is all like post makeover, right?
Yeah, this is post makeover. So she's got like
because they flipped the whole makeover thing. Now instead of the mom getting the daughter a makeover in her body, it's the daughter getting a makeover in her mom's body.
Yeah, so she like basically she cut her hair even shorter. It honestly doesn't look that great.
I think it looks better than the wig she's wearing.
It looks a little, well, anything would look better than
That's
that.
a wig though.
It's a wig though. She got her cartilage pierced, and she put her in like what they call very accurately a Stevie Nicks dress, which I was like, I don't understand that. You would think she would put her in something like more punk rock, and instead she makes her look like an aging hippie. It's not great.
She looks great though.
She looks great, but Jamie Lee Curtis would look great in a potato sack. So this is what I'm trying to get to. So this boy falls really hard. Again, it's not explicitly mentioned that he's 18, but we're just like hoping and praying that he is, because otherwise this is very, very problematic. They basically go on this like date and like lose track of time and sit in the coffee shop forever,
staring into
each other's eyes lovingly, and then he like takes her home on his motorcycle, Jamie Lee Curtis.
This is after he's already like expressed his feelings
He's
for
expressed
her.
his feelings, and he like comes and serenades her at the house, and he like crashes the wedding. Anyway,
Lindsay Lohan gets that great like bit of physical comedy where she gets to like run him down and tackle him. It's very good.
But anyway, so while they're sitting in the coffee shop, my note was, I just realized what's going on and I don't like it. It made me so uncomfortable because she's a grown woman acting like a child, and he is essentially a child.
Where I guess it feels more okay when it's like a 14 or a 15-year-old because it really feels harmless.
Yeah, this did not feel harmless.
Like, so in the original version, the mom is not that into this kid.
Yeah.
Like, not into him at all, and he's 15 and into her. In this one, he's 18 and they are both into each other.
Right. Well, what I said to you, we kind of paused it because I was grossed out, and I said, well, I mean, you were an 18-year-old boy. What would you do if Jamie Lee Curtis sat down in front of you and seemed interested in you, and you went into a monologue? You waxed poetic about Jamie Lee Curtis's performance in the movie True Lies.
I feel like maybe, I can't speak for all our listeners, but I just hope at least one of you out there heard that and said, no explanation needed. I know exactly what you're talking about. And any reaction that Jeremy had, I completely understand. There has to be someone out there that thought that.
That thought Jamie Lee Curtis was sexy in True Lies?
Jamie Lee Curtis
I feel like that is like I'm pretty sure that is like widely accepted.
Is it?
That Jamie Lee Curtis was sexy in True Lies?
I don't hear people talking about it that much.
I feel like I've heard that before.
I guess there's a different thing between someone saying, oh, yes, no, it is my understanding that Jamie Lee Curtis is sexy in True Lies.
And someone having had
someone
deeply
was like,
experienced that for themselves.
Someone who was 12.
Yeah, I get it.
Someone who like had an awakening seeing True Lies. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. That's not applicable to everyone.
I don't think you're the only one.
Well, that makes me happy.
Good. Okay, so just a couple more things. This version had an equivalent scene to the one I responded to so strongly in 1977, where the adult brain gets to give the right answer to a question in school. But they did something to it that I kind of like, which is that they made it a little weird because essentially Anna's English teacher, Stephen Tobolowsky, is flunking her. And we're not sure in the beginning whether it's deserved or not.
Mhm.
And
I had a hope.
yes.
Because my hope was that they were going to mirror what had been done in the book, which is the teacher is flunking her, but feels terrible about it. Because she's flunking her because she wants to push her, because she knows she's capable of doing so much more, and she's her favorite student.
Right. So you wanted Stephen Tobolowsky to really love Anna.
Yeah.
This turned out not to be the case.
Not even a little.
So basically what happens is that they're studying Hamlet, and there's this scene where he goes, okay, kids, pop quiz on Hamlet. And he calls on the stupid boy and gives him a really dumb question and
describe Hamlet
and prompts the answer out of him.
Mm-hmm.
Then he calls on Anna and gives her kind of a hard question, which is something like describe the major themes of Hamlet.
Yeah.
And this was the point at which I turned to you and I was like, this is the dream. This is the dream of my life, that someone comes in front of many people and gives me a hard question about Hamlet, and I get to prove how smart I am. Just the dream. So I was really set up for everyone to be impressed, for everyone to see how cool and smart Anna was, and for the teacher just to think about all the ways he had underestimated her. I was really invested in this.
Because it is Tess at this point.
Yes.
Yep.
So Tess gives the right answer. She gives a great answer. And the teacher says, that was terrible. I'm giving you an F. And
It's like you're reaching a little bit.
I freaked out because I was like, that was the right answer though. That was the right answer. This is not fair. This is a disgrace. I was so mad. But then it went somewhere, because what it turns out is that Tess recognizes this man as someone that she went to high school with, who she turned down like for the prom. And she, as Anna, says to him, oh, I just realized who you are. You're taking this out on me because my mom turned you down for the prom. How pathetic and awful is that? And just has this great moment of like realizing that this guy has it out for her through no fault of her own.
Do you remember what the line is?
No, go ahead.
I had a boyfriend and you were weird.
Yeah, it was great. So that happens.
Mm-hmm.
So she's won this victory.
Yep.
So that was just what I wanted to say, because that was a callback directly to 1977, but they kind of made it a little more complex.
Yep. Can we please talk about Rosalind Chow?
I think we have to talk about the elephant in the room.
I want to talk about Rosalind Chow.
Oh, God. Rosalind Chow, what have they done to you?
We might have I can't say it's going to be in every episode,
yeah,
but we might have a new segment.
Yes.
So we haven't even done like the female part is a little underwritten or Sir not appearing in this film. Like I just talked about Boris a whole bunch, and like Boris doesn't necessarily appear in all of these, and they changed the character so much that I don't really think it's applicable. You know who is my nominee for for the lady not appearing in this film?
Who's that?
Mrs. Schmaus. Like the racist maid.
She's only in the 77 one.
She's the best nominee that I have.
Yeah.
And the female part, do you feel like it's underwritten?
No, but I will say, just in place of that segment, a conversation that we had was, you said something like, I'd love to see Wes Anderson do a version of this. And I said...
Well, and I want to explain that because I feel like there's something about the rhythm of the dialogue in the book and the way things are stated so plainly and the way people talk and the way people interact with each other felt to me like Wes Anderson. So I want to give the background as that's why I said it. And then you said...
And then I said, but there's a problem with that,
Yep.
which is that Wes Anderson does not make movies about women.
Sure doesn't. It's my biggest... I had a problem... That was my problem with him a long time ago. It's just gotten worse and worse.
Yes.
I just desperately want him to make a movie about someone who's not a white dude.
I don't, though, because what would his perspective on that be? He clearly has nothing to say.
What I'm saying is I want him to grow.
Yes.
I would like him to grow.
That would be great.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So in our Godzilla episode,
yeah,
I coined a phrase, which is the sumo noodle guy. And the sumo noodle guy is the person who...
So can I give some background on that? So in Godzilla 1998, in the 1998 like Matthew Broderick version of Godzilla, we are introduced to a boat of Japanese sailors. And the very first one we meet, he's sitting in his control room, eating noodles and watching sumo wrestling.
Yes.
Which is the quickest way that the filmmakers thought they could signify that this character is Japanese.
Yes.
There's no other way that they could think of to do that. This is how they chose to do it.
And I'm And what I posited was that as an actor or a performer, you're in this terrible position of being between a rock and a hard place, which is if you're, for example, Asian, many times, or like a little person, I feel like this happens a lot. Many times your choices are between not being cast at all and therefore having no representation, or being sumo noodle guy. And it's, I feel like, a very hard and bad position to be in, and Hollywood should do better. But this is the world in which we live.
And the reason this is coming up is because the 2003 Freaky Friday, unfortunately, as good as it is, has
a severe problem.
We got a couple of sumo noodle guys.
Yeah. One is Rosalind Chow.
Yeah. Of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And also the Joy Luck Club, which we have covered on this show, as Pei Pei.
Yes.
Who is the like manager of the Chinese restaurant that they go out to when they have their big fight.
Yes.
They have their Anna and her mom have their big fight at a Chinese restaurant.
Yes.
And Rosalind Chow knows them.
Yes.
Pei Pei knows them. They eat there all the time.
Yes. Rosalind Chow doing an accent.
Yep.
That is not her own. And her mother, the mystical Oriental.
Yeah. Who also is in the Joy Luck Club.
Was she?
Yeah. She was like the grandmother that dies.
Okay.
Who has the estranged daughter in Joy Luck Club. So they're both in Joy Luck Club.
Great. And now they're in this.
They're in this.
Rosalind Chow, like, she's well known in 2003. This is the thing I feel so bad about, that she is still being called upon to play this type of role. And, like, apparently had, I mean, I don't want to speculate on her involvement in whether or not it was offensive, but, like, it is offensive. So, I don't know. I feel bad for her. This seems bad.
I find it problematic.
Yeah.
I can't speculate as to what was going on inside her head.
Yes.
I couldn't find anything
I don't blame
about it.
her.
No, that's what we're saying.
Yeah.
We're saying, like, you take, when you're an actor, you take the roles you can get.
Yeah.
I thought, and the thing that bothers me most about it is, like, okay, first of all, you don't have to explain the body swap.
Yeah.
We know you don't have to, because they don't in the book and they don't in the original movie, and it works just fine. But in this one, they want to. B, if you're gonna do it, why does there have to be, like, quote unquote Oriental mysticism involved? Why is that the thing that does it? Because basically, like, there you have other options, but they're in the restaurant, and Pei Pei's mom, who's like the old Chinese lady, she sees them having this fight and goes, I know how to do this. I know how to handle this. So she comes up to them with fortune cookies. Mystical fortune cookies.
Fortune cookies are not even Chinese, as we know from the Joy Luck Club when they go to work in the fortune cookie factory.
So she comes up to them with these magic fortune cookies. They both open them up, and the fortune's like, it's some bullshit about how, like, you will understand each other or blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter. That's the thing that makes them switch bodies.
Yes, and Rosalind Chow is aware that her mother has this power and is trying to tell her not to do it, and she does it anyway.
I have some headcanon.
Okay,
so in the book, as we've said, the whole thing is the mom is in control of the body swap.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
My headcanon is this version of Freaky Friday is a sequel to an original adaptation of the book about Rosalind Chow and her mom.
Yes.
And Rosalind Chow's mom did this to her when she was a kid.
That was the impression I got from the movie.
Yes.
Like, I got that impression.
I 100% believe that is what happened. So there's this super cool, like Chinese American version of Freaky Friday that happened. And that's why Rosalind Chow knows everything about what's going on.
Yes.
And it also explains why the mom is in control of this.
Yes.
She has control of this entire thing.
Yes.
For the fortune cookie thing, I literally in my notes, like, fortune cookies aren't even Chinese came up like 3 times.
Yeah.
It just, they keep bringing it up. Yeah, the Chinese thing. It's so frustrating. I guess in the musical, the thing that makes them switch is like an hourglass. Like a magic hourglass. I think they remove the, like, Chinese mysticism.
That's better,
the Oriental mysticism from it. It feels so... I feel so bad about the fact that in so many ways this movie is so much better than stuff that came before.
Yeah.
But it's, like, even worse than the 1995 one. I don't know. Well, actually, this is a question.
Yeah.
It's Oriental mysticism, and I want to stress, I keep putting quotes around that.
Yes, of course.
It's Oriental mysticism in the same way that the 1995 version is, but... Well, I guess even that one had
the Chinese restaurant.
The Chinese restaurant and actual, like, actors of Chinese descent in it. So, like, representation's basically the same in terms of casting.
Yeah.
We're still forcing these people to do this thing. It doesn't have to be that way.
No.
Like,
I mean, honestly,
Like, Rosalind Shaw doesn't even need to be doing the accent
no,
that she's doing.
that's what I was about to say. It would have been 10 times better if she had just done her own accent. Like, literally just that would have been an improvement.
Mm-hmm.
But she was doing an over-the-top accent that made it all just feel worse.
Mm-hmm. It's not in the book.
It's not in the
It's
book.
not in the original movie. It doesn't have to be there.
It doesn't have to be this way.
Uh.
The original book is very progressive and anti-racist.
Yeah.
Why do we need to add these things?
Mm.
Anyway.
End of the day, I feel like everyone acquits themselves really nicely in this movie. My big note about it was it's not doing what the book is doing. They're doing their own thing, but they're doing it really well.
Yes.
They're showing this emotional journey of the mother and the daughter because the mom and the daughter have tons of interaction throughout the whole movie.
Well, this is the thing we have not mentioned yet.
What's that?
This is the only version where they both know what's going on together immediately.
Yes.
And are working together to
Yep.
solve the problem and making a plan together.
Mm-hmm.
And I really was there for it.
Yes.
I liked it. I
Mhm.
thought it was great.
Yeah. I guess, and I was saying before that like a lot of the comedy doesn't just come from the body swap.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in this one, all the comedy comes from the body swap, but the people making it are funnier.
Yes.
And can make it funnier, and our performers are funnier. Lindsay Lohan did a really good job in this.
Yes.
Like, I think Jamie Lee Curtis is the flashier performance.
Yeah.
Because it's like, grown woman playing a kid.
Yeah.
But Lindsay Lohan also did a really good job in this.
Yes.
Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that.
Yeah. It's just a funnier movie. All the stuff everything that's happening in that the first hour of their day as they're figuring out all the rules and kind of getting their heads wrapped around the fact that they're now in each other's bodies. That stuff was gold.
Yeah.
Really funny stuff.
It was very good. So just to kind of wrap up our discussion of this movie, I just
Mhm.
want to mention what happens at the end. So basically, the big event that they're working towards is Mom's rehearsal dinner.
Mhm.
And it turns out that there's this Battle of the Bands, blah, 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 that's right next door. So
How convenient.
the thing that they basically have to do is in order to switch back, we learn, is they have to perform an act of self-sacrifice for each other.
Mhm.
And Mom's act of self-sacrifice is to let Anna go play with the band in this one song in Battle of the Bands. And obviously Tess in Anna's body does not know how to play guitar and freaks out.
Which is convenient because Lindsay Lohan
Also
doesn't seem to know how to play guitar that well.
But then again, they work together with Anna backstage in Mom's body playing the guitar and doing good guitar while Anna mimes guitar on stage.
And no one can tell.
No one can tell, apparently.
It's not how concerts work.
And they do a good job.
Mhm.
And so that's number one, that she gives up the sort of part of the rehearsal dinner to allow her to do this thing that means a lot to her. And then, sort of in a role reversal situation, Tess as Anna says to Anna as Tess, you're going to have to tell him, I see this now from your perspective, and I need to do this for you, which is postpone the wedding. You're not ready.
And actually, I think that's the self-sacrifice.
Yes.
That's more than the concert. That's the self-sacrifice.
Yes. This is hurting me, but you're not ready. And, I'm not willing to sacrifice my relationship with you just to get married. Doesn't mean I'll never get married. It just means I'm not going to get married tomorrow.
Mhm.
But you're going to have to tell him, obviously, because we're not switching back. And Jamie Lee Curtis says, great, I know exactly what to say, and walks over to him, to Mark Harmon. But instead of having that conversation, she makes a speech and basically talks about how their family has been through a lot, but this guy came into their lives and it was very unexpected and made her happy. And that's all she can really ask for and has been wonderful to her children, et cetera, et cetera. This is where we were both crying.
Mhm.
And this is the act of self-sacrifice that allows them to switch back. So as they're looking into each other's eyes during this speech, they switch back.
Mhm.
And it's a very satisfying ending.
Yeah.
Because you really feel like their relationship, like we said earlier, their relationship at the beginning of the movie is very rocky, very bad. You really feel like they've gone on a journey and they've both learned something, and that their lives will be better from now on, having had this journey. They're not going to just go back to status quo. They have truly learned something. And I think I think that's great. Like, I like that that's how it ended. Because I was invested in these characters.
Mm-hmm.
So it was nice that it ended on this note of like true character development. Does that make sense?
I think it makes total sense.
Yeah.
And that is exactly how I feel about it.
Great.
I think that's a good way to end. Should we back up for a second, do some quadrants,
Yeah,
and then
let's
wrap
do
it up? Okay.
All right.
We've got 1976. I think this is kind of a gimme. Do you think they cared about the source material?
Yes, the writer was the writer of the book.
Yeah, they clearly did. Did they do a good job?
I think so.
I think so too.
Yeah, it was good.
I definitely think it was good.
Yeah.
1995. Do you think they cared about the source material?
Not in the slightest.
Like, I think Disney cares about it in that they own it.
Yeah.
And they need to kind of continually remake it in order to keep the rights to it.
Sure.
I think that's it. Did they do a good job?
No.
Like, beyond the fact that it's a cheap TV movie, they did a bad job.
They did a bad job.
Yeah.
As you often say, logic is free.
2003.
Yes.
Did they care about the source material?
I would say so because it was Heather Hatch
I think it's Hatch.
who wrote the sequel to Freaky Friday with Mary Rodgers.
Totally.
So I would say that she definitely cared about the source material.
I think so.
Like, she's clearly invested.
Did they do a good job?
Yes.
This is a successful movie.
It's a good movie.
It was better than I expected.
Yeah, it was way better than I expected. I didn't expect to cry.
Yeah. I laughed a lot more than I
I laughed, I cried.
It was better than
Yeah.
Cats. All right, well,
There
this
it
has
is.
been Adapter Parish. If you'd like to find us online, we're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at AdaptCast. And if you tweet about the show, don't forget to use the AdaptCast hashtag. You can join our groups on Facebook and Goodreads, and you can also find and follow me on Letterboxd. If you have anything to say that's longer than a tweet, you can always send an email to adapterparishcast@gmail.com. If you'd like to support the show, there are 2 great ways you can do it. First, tell a friend. Second, a rating and review on your podcast platform of choice would always be greatly appreciated. A 5-star rating and nice review definitely helps with our visibility. We appreciate you.
This is Jeremy Latour.
And this is Ariel Lipshaw signing off. Oh my God, what happened?
Bye.
Bye, everyone.